Hey everyone, it's John, and I am here with Terry Johnson from Firearms Legal Protection, and we got a couple things I want to talk to you about today. In particular, there is a video of an officer-involved incident, right, an off-duty from Brazil, who, go watch the video, right? We're going to put it up over here, so make sure you go watch it. But there's an interesting discussion here about fleeing felons, because after the officer smoke checks the first guy who is shooting at him with a gun, the second guy is gone, right? No honor among thieves. And then about 5-6 seconds later, officer shoots down the road at him at some distance. So I want to talk to Terry and ask him about legal liability from the perspective of an attorney when this stuff happens. Today's video is brought to us by the generosity of Firearms Legal Protection. Firearms Legal Protection is a legal defense program for lawful gun owners. You win the fight, and they will help you win the fight after the fight for the rest of your life. There's a link in the description for a coupon code for a discount for all active self-protection watchers. First of all, Terry, thank you so much for being on the program, man. I really appreciate
Always
it.
a pleasure.
And so you've seen this video. This guy goes, and we see this kind of regularly. You get this kind of predator prey drive that, somebody offends you. No, man, you just threatened my life, and then I'm gonna go get you. And
right.
Shots are heading down the hallway. So. This is a public environment. This guy is down the road. Now, we don't get to see what's off camera here. So for all we know, in this instance, that guy could have turned around and threatened him again.
Correct.
But for the sake of our discussion today, let's just say he doesn't. Let's just say he is heading off into the wild blue yonder because he wants to get away because you got a gun. And you've won the fight, but you decide in that moment that you're going to take shots at that guy. As an attorney, do you recommend that to self-defenders?
Absolutely not. One of the things you got to keep in mind is you're responsible for every round that comes out of that firearm. Mm-hmm. If it goes down the street and it ricochets and it hits someone, you don't get points for being a bad shot.
Right.
And that's what people miss.
And that's even as an off-duty cop, right? Because when you're on duty, you're operating under the auspices of the agency and of your city. But off-duty, you don't necessarily have that.
Correct, but you can also get sued on duty as well. There's
you do
negligence,
wrong, yeah.
Gross negligence, the whole 9 yards. And the thing you have to keep in mind is if you're just shooting into the dark, we see it on TV all the time.
Sure.
When you see a guy running, the police officer just pulls out his or her gun and they just shoot at that point. And it's like, well, where's the threat?
Right.
You can't track them down. Did they turn around? Where's the threat of imminent great bodily harm or death at that point? Because no matter what happens, you still have that as your basis. If you don't have the imminency right there,
right,
it's a problem.
It's a problem, or it can be a problem, both from a criminal perspective and from a civil perspective.
Correct.
So, okay, here's my thought to you. If you're going to shoot at somebody who's fleeing like that, they just accosted you, they just threatened your life. I understand that. Again, the guy went after the first guy. I got no problems with that shot at all, none at all. That guy was shooting a gun at him. Hey, great, let that guy, burn him to the ground. But the next guy is off and gone. Now, assuming he's still off and gone, you said something interesting. Now, again, whether off-duty cop or private citizen, you're responsible for that round that leaves the chamber. Correct. And therefore, if something were to go wrong, you could be held liable both criminally and civilly for that bullet.
Absolutely. Here's the thing right now. Your cameraman, John, is behind the camera here. Hi, John. If someone's accosting John right now, I pull out my gun and I shoot that person, but at the same time, I hit John in the shoulder. Mm-hmm. John can sue me.
No, he wouldn't, because he's a fine human being, and saving your life would be incredibly important right now.
He's
sitting there behind the camera. He's like, I would. But that may not be the case. You may not get such a kind soul.
Exactly, and think about it. You've saved someone's life, mm-hmm. but in the interim, you've hurt me. I've got medical bills.
Right.
I lost
work.
I lost work. I may never be able to use this arm again.
And it's your actions that cost that.
Yes. And that's the thing people don't understand. While you're doing something good, there can also be negative consequences to that.
Well, and as a firearms trainer, I would say this. The vast majority of people, the 99.5% of firearms carriers that I train, we added it up. I think this year we trained just over 300 people on the line. Shots past 15 yards are almost impossible for the average self-defender, especially somebody who's carrying a subcompact gun. You're carrying a small gun with a short sight radius. that's not easy to shoot at distance, and you get that 25, 35, 50-yard shot, almost impossible. Now, I know there's going to be somebody out there who is like, yeah, but I carry my Roland Special with a red dot and a 1 minute of angle, dot, and I can make that shot. Okay, if you've actually tested it under pressure and you can, then that particular problem is ameliorated. But if you miss, now that could even be not necessarily bodily injury, but I mean, if I put a bullet through someone's car, now I got to pay to have their car fixed.
What I teach in some of my classes is, think of it this way. If I shoot someone, let's say I shoot 3 times. I hit them twice, I missed the third. I'm not going to miss, but let's just say I do.
Okay.
That round sails, and let's say it hits a truck on the freeway. That truck turns over. It blows up. Guess what? I'm responsible for that. And the fire department comes out.
Yeah,
once they get there, let's say the fireman breaks a leg. I'm responsible for that. On the way, it's the old thing of you're responsible to the natural end of that round.
Of that incident.
Yeah.
And that may be no big deal, right? It may just lodge in a tree somewhere or in a wall somewhere, and okay, whatever. You're responsible to spackle a wall, but maybe not. And so I also want to talk about the legality of fleeing felons. Now, I have had some discussion with people on this, and okay, we're not talking about on-duty law enforcement. Okay, so on-duty law enforcement, lethal force, fleeing felons. Go read Tennessee versus Garner. Go read Graham versus Connor. Okay, fine. And then you can see all about those from a on-duty law enforcement perspective. But for a private citizen, tell me about the legality of chasing or apprehending a fleeing felon.
Great question. It depends upon the jurisdiction that you're in.
Okay.
But most jurisdictions, I believe in my reading, 49 out of 50 states allow you to kind of make a citizen's arrest kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And most of them have to do with like a felon, not a misdemeanor.
Felonies, and in some of them, violent felonies.
Yes. And that's the thing. First of all, you got to look and you got to say, well, wait a minute. What is this? Is this a felony? Is this a misdemeanor? Mm-hmm. Do you have firsthand knowledge? And what do I mean by that? Not you running out of the store as a shopkeeper saying,
this guy stole from me.
Exactly. I have to see it first, and then I have to make a determination. And the first thing you got to say after that is it safe?
Right.
Is it safe for me to get involved? Because again, running after someone, you don't know what they've done unless you've seen it. And secondly, if they've done something violent, like let's say shot someone, stabbed someone, do you really want to go after that person?
So he just shot someone. You're going to insert yourself there in order to try to get shot too. I get it. Some people, and I've said this before, I feel like everybody gets to set their own standards of who they're willing to intervene for, but it's awful dangerous.
It is. And one of the things you really got to keep in mind is you want to make yourself a good witness at that point, because if I'm inserting myself in, you get that adrenaline going.
Right.
And you want to become Superman. You think you can leap over tall buildings, and at the end of the day, you haven't trained for that.
Right.
That's the bigger problem. The police have trained for this.
And that's their job, and not ours, not mine.
Right, and that's where the problem lies. We have to stop, even though we carry a firearm, that does not give us the right to play James Bond. We have to know where to stop, where to protect ourselves, protect our loved ones, versus something just happened. What's the best thing for me to do?
So, I mean, we're talking about a couple of things here, but from a legal liability perspective, what I'm hearing you say, Terry, is that, putting myself into this situation exposes me from a safety perspective, can expose me from a legal perspective. And I wish we lived in a country that wasn't the case, okay? Yeah. That well-intentioned actions, and there is some good Samaritan protection there, but if you're wrong, or if you make a mistake, or you show negligence, then your liability shows up. So it sounds like from an attorney's perspective, you're saying, gosh, it's wiser and safer probably not to try apprehending a fleeing felon.
Well, correct. And here's the other part. You might get charged criminally as well. So what if you take me down and it's not what you thought it was? And now you've done kind of a pat down or something like that. Do I get charged with sexual assault now? Because, I've chased you down and I've had to check you out to make sure there's nothing there. You open yourself up to so many liabilities where the police, they're protected by the government.
So again, I just want to tell you, shooting down the road at somebody, unless I can, number one, articulate an imminent threat of great bodily harm or death, bad idea. Because you make a serious mistake and a prosecutor can charge you with negligent discharge, with aggravated assault if you hit somebody else. From a civil liability perspective, lots of problems. And so I really don't recommend that. And the apprehending a fleeing felon, man, is so fraught with danger. I would just say don't play Batman. Just don't be that guy. Don't be the Punisher.
Right.
You know, be a good witness. Call cops and let them handle it. Thought? Agreed?
I fully agree, because at the end of the day, if this person is emboldened enough to rob someone and shoot someone, think what they'll do to you.
Yeah. All right, guys, hope it helps.